Have you ever noticed how readily we divide ourselves into groups? Choir versus band, Star Wars versus Star Trek, cats versus dogs, Red Sox versus Yankees. I could go on, but hopefully you get the point. This is tribalism in action. Tribalism is our tendency to form strong bonds with people who share similar characteristics, beliefs, values, or backgrounds. This can lead to an us versus them mindset, where we see our own group as superior to others, leading to prejudice, discrimination, and even conflict. Humans spent most of our history in small hunter gatherer groups where cooperation and loyalty were essential for survival. It provided greater access to resources, protection against predators, and defense against rival tribes. Those who didn't cooperate or who weren't loyal to the group faced being ostracized and trying to survive on their own. We live in a different environment today, but our brains still categorize people as part of our group, us, or as outsiders, them, such as nationality, religion, political ideology, or even shared interests like hobbies or sports. And for the record, cats rule. Belonging to a group provides us with purpose, connection, and even boosts our self esteem. To maintain a positive image of ourselves, we want our groups to be viewed favorably. For example, sports fans feel a sense of pride and belonging when their team wins. They might even taunt or troll the other team and their fans. Basically, we feel better about ourselves when our team is better than the other team. Tribalism can result in in-group and out-group biases, which are our tendency to favor members of our own group over those from other groups. This can lead us to unfairly excluding or mistreating outgroup members, which can fuel even more hostility between groups. For example, we tend to perceive outgroup members as being all alike, which can lead to harmful generalizations and stereotypes, like assuming entire groups of people are lazy, hostile, or untrustworthy. In extreme cases, this can even lead to dehumanizing outgroup members, justifying mistreatment, or even violence. We also tend to apply a double standard when judging behavior. We're often more lenient towards members of our own group, excusing or downplaying their misbehavior, whereas we judge outgroup members more harshly for the same actions. As a Jewish man living in Poland in the early 20th century, Henri Tafjel witnessed firsthand the effects of prejudice and discrimination. During World War II, he briefly served in the French army, and then he spent several years in German prisoner of war camps. While he survived, most of his friends and family were killed in the Holocaust. After the war, Tajfel became a social psychologist to better understand how our social identities could lead to such horrible violence. In one fascinating study, he and his colleagues tried to determine the minimal conditions necessary for people to favor their in-group members. Participants were asked to estimate the number of dots on a screen. He then put them into two groups, overestimators or underestimators. While people thought their groups reflected their answers, they'd actually been randomly assigned to a group. Tajfel's plan was to gradually introduce group distinctions to determine when discriminatory behavior emerged. But he found that simply assigning participants to a group, even with the most minimal differences, was enough. Not only did participants award more money to their in-group members, they often gave less to their in-group if it meant maximizing the difference between groups. They were willing to take fewer resources as long as they got more than the other group. Tajfel's findings demonstrate that simply categorizing people into groups, even based on arbitrary or meaningless traits, was enough to trigger in-group favoritism and out-group hostility. Now imagine how this bias might manifest between groups with more meaningful differences. Many of today's biggest conflicts are fueled by tribalism. The good news is, we aren't powerless. The most important first step in overcoming tribalism is awareness. When our brains are on autopilot, they often make quick, intuitive judgments that can be biased and harmful. These tendencies don't make us bad people. As humans, it's part of our brain's wiring. But by understanding these tendencies, we can think critically, question our assumptions, and make wiser decisions. When we know better, we can do better. Another way to reduce tribalism is to encourage positive contact between groups. When individuals from different groups work together toward common goals, they develop empathy, understanding, and respect for each other. And finally, we can reframe our identity from narrow and superficial to broader and more inclusive. After all, we're all human.